Hey, welcome back to the shop. This is Zach over at NV Woodworks. Today I'm going to be talking about my new pressure pot, and I'll kind of walk through the features of this one and compare it a little bit to the Harbor Freight. So I bought this, about a month ago maybe now, and it's made by CA Technologies, and I bought it from a company called, a website, finishsystems.com. This one was $330 plus a little bit of tax. I think the shipping was free though. And that compares to the Harbor Freight ones. They're right around $80, $90. If you have the 20% off coupon, they're about $80 plus tax. So, that's a pretty good difference in price. I've been using the Harbor Freight since I started with Alumilite, and I haven't had any issues with it, any problems. I run it at about 50 pounds of pressure. The lid didn't blow off, and everything's been working pretty good. So I'll just kind of walk through it. Now, both of these are 2.5 gallon pressure pots. They both got handles. They come with, this one came with this thing on the side. I don't really know what this is. This isn't very useful for me. It's got a safety valve. It has an air release valve. Again, I don't know what that exactly is for. And it came with, the gauge, the regulator, and I guess that's about it. I actually had to take these, this cap off of my Harbor Freight that wasn't working, and this elbow and air hose inlet connector. So it's not ready to go, and they kind of make it sound like these things are ready to cast with. Not really so. You pretty much have to spend the same amount of money just about. I'm trying to think. It's about the same parts that I had to pay for on top of, purchasing that one. So just to let you know about that. Luckily for me, I had that stuff and I didn't have to pay for it. But one of the biggest things that I like is these brackets are what you use to, that's what's pressing down on, it's what you're clamping with, I should say. That compares to the Harbor Freight that has these little bolts that it's like a pin that you're just kind of screwing down into the top. Now, my top is all jacked up. Where I've been screwing it down, and the tighter you screw them down, the more you're going to screw up that lid. I don't know what effect that has on this thing. I mean, it hasn't had any effect yet, but I'm kind of curious if that has something to do with the failure rate of these things. The other thing that I really liked about this is it has feet. Now, these are meant to attach casters to. I don't see the point of that for casting. That I can understand for, these pressure pots are really a spray paint tank. And so, if you're painting walls in a house, it makes sense to put, wheels on this so you can roll it around with you. But I want this thing mounted, but it has a hole in it and it has these nice brackets. And so I just mount it to the table behind me. And then when I'm clamping this thing down in a rush using Alumilite white or whatever, it's easy. It's not moving around on me. It stays stationary, so it's real nice. Now, just off the bat, when I got this thing, it is beefy. It is well made. Everything's really nice. I mean, the screws for these things, look at this. The screws on the Harbor Freight are a pain. They don't work very well. This thing, you just spin it and then you're ready to clamp down. The wing nuts are huge compared to these ones. Look at this. You can really get a good grip on this thing and put some pressure on it. So, not too bad. The other thing is I do like the regulator. This definitely would not be a deal breaker. There's nothing wrong with that one, but I do like this one better. I think the gauge is a little bit nicer. So, it's got nicer things. Now, on the inside, this thing taken apart here, the inside of this is flat. The bottom is flat. So, there's no, on the Harbor Freight, let me pull this over. I got a camera up here. On the Harbor Freight, it's dished down in, and so if you just put a square mold in there, it could be all off center and whatever. So I put and actually epoxied in a piece of the melamine stuff that I use. I just cut a circle and put a platform down in there. So one of the problems with doing that is you lose some vertical, capacity. But it is just an extra step that you have to take to make sure that you're not putting your mold in sideways. So that's one of the nice things about this pot. Now, differences, obviously, this one's a little bit shorter, but it's wider. So, you know, I'm going to measure this. I'm kind of curious. Now, you don't need to put 3/4 inch melamine in the bottom of your pot, but that's the only thing I really had. This thing gives me about 8 1/4 to the rim. 8 5/8. So it's actually as much capacity after I put that melamine in there. That's interesting. Now, a couple things about this one. So it's Teflon coated on the inside. I don't really think that really makes that much difference. The air safety release valve looks to be a little bit nicer than the one that comes with the Harbor Freight. But other than that, you know, for the most part, everything's it's a pressure pot. There's not a whole lot of difference, but some of these little extra goodies, you know, for me doing this a lot, make it a lot better. And especially, you know, just the simple things, the threads on these screws work really well, and that helps me get Alumilite white out, or, you know, ready, clamped down and all that stuff a lot quicker. Now, this company, CA Technologies, this is actually the smallest one that they make. The next size up is a 5 gallon, and I'm actually probably going to buy that once I can save up enough money. I want to use that one on its side here, and the nice thing is it's pretty much the same thing. It's got the brackets and all that kind of stuff, so it'll be really easy to mount it to, you know, the wall or to something behind it using these brackets, and just, you know, nail some screws home in there, and it'll be not twisting on you. I'm not going to quit using the Harbor Freight pressure pots. Again, if I get the 5 gallon one, then I'm going to have 4 pressure pots. Now, one of the nice things, the reason I'm getting that 5 gallon is it's a little bit taller. I think it's even a little bit wider, but it's a little taller than this one. And, you know, that tap handle that I made, the mold, it would have fit in the 5 gallon on its side easily. So I'll be able to do that. And then if you put it vertical, I can put a really tall PVC pipe in there. So it gives me some advantages. And, you know, as much as I say I don't think there's really anything wrong with the Harbor Freight pressure pots, I still feel more comfortable using this one. I'll tell you right now, because they don't have a history of them blowing up. So the question that I get a lot is, which pressure pot should I buy? And so, you know, now I have 2 different ones, and I've gotten a little bit of a experience with this one, and I definitely have a lot of experience with Harbor Freight. Now, I think that if you have the money and you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit easier to work with, may last a little bit longer, and you're really planning to do a lot of casting, you might want to fork out the money for this one. I mean, I definitely, given the choice again, I would do this one. Now, I don't think I would buy this one. I don't think going back, I would have bought this off the bat when I first got into casting, but now that I'm doing it and I'm selling them and I'm ramping up the production of it, I like this one a lot better. If you're just getting into casting, there's nothing wrong with the Harbor Freight pressure pot. I think this thing works pretty good, and I'm still using the other one. So until I replace it, that thing's going to be used. Now, one thing that I'm going to say about the Harbor Freight pressure pots and the safety issue. One thing that the people that, you know, tell you, oh, you can't buy that because it's going to explode. The one thing that they don't mention is, if you're that worried about it, the easiest way to not get hurt by this thing blowing up, if it does happen to blow up, is don't stand next to it and fill it. You don't need to put the valve on the pot. You can just, you know, get rid of this valve here. Just have an air hose connector. Have air hose, and then put your valve to turn it on and off down away from the pressure pot, and at that point you can't really lose, because you shouldn't get hurt if you put this in a place that even if it does blow up, nobody's getting hurt and nothing's going to get damaged. What's the difference? It was only 80 bucks. Now, again, I think that this thing's going to last a little bit longer, and I like the features of it a lot better. So, you know, going forward, I'm going to buy something like this, but nothing wrong with the Harbor Freight. So I hope this was kind of helpful. Hope I got good shots of this stuff. I don't know. I'm still, you know, working on some of the camera angles and all that kind of stuff. So I'll probably get some like up close photos and just kind of put a couple of those. I like doing those little photo slideshows at the end. But if you have any questions about, you know, this pressure pot, or, you know, anything about pressure pots, you know, anything in the shop, what I'm working on, leave them below. You can leave comments, questions. I love both. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can email me at zach@nvwoodworks.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me there. So I hope this was fun. Pretty good pressure pot. I would, it's definitely nice. I will say that. Little bit more expensive, but nice. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.